Hi, and welcome to this special edition of SIGG'S on the 8th Grade Center on Demand Network, where it's all academic all the time. This SIGG'S On video is for incoming 8th grade students, so current 7th grade students and families, more specifically for students that are eligible to make a decision to take Challenge Science next year because they are currently in Algebra 1, or they're going to be in Algebra 1 or going to be in Geometry next year. So with that being said, let me first introduce the panel here. My name is Mr. Parsi. I'm a science teacher here at the 8th Grade Center. And we have Dr. SIGG'S, principal of the 8th Grade Center. How you doing, Dr. SIGG'S?
I'm doing great. Nice to see you again, Mr. Parsi.
Good to see you too. Okay, so this is going to be a very important video. So before we get into the details and specifics, please, families, and I say parents and the 7th grader that could be impacted by this, we need you to spend the 20 or so minutes and thoroughly watch this video. Because if you invest the time now, we're going to clearly lay out as best we can what you can expect for 180 days of instruction. And from our experience in the past, this isn't just a big time and emotional investment on the child. It's also a big emotional investment on the family. So before you make any decision, yes or no, we are imploring you to watch the video and not just watch it, listen to every word we say, because everything we say, we're going to try to be as clear and as honest as possible because, and we're going to say this a lot, we don't want to scare you. We just want to make sure we're being honest so your child gets the best possible experience they can get at the 8th Grade Center. So with that being said, please pay attention to the whole video because, again, our intention is to make sure your child has a wonderful experience here at the 8th Grade Center. So with that being said, before we start, if you have any questions, please, after this video, please contact your child's assigned guidance counselor, Mrs. McCarter or Mrs. Flynn. All right, so with that being said, Dr. SIGG'S, would you like to begin the discussion?
Absolutely. And once again, I appreciate everything you said, Mr. Parsi. I do want to let parents know, listen, I mean, what we're going to do right now is we're going to be honest, okay? And we're going to be straightforward, okay? We're not trying to scare people away from it. What we want to do is we want to make sure that everybody hears what they can expect to have happen, and they're not shocked by that, what's going to take place, okay? And the last thing that we want to see happen is a child who is really a good student, okay, be put into a situation that is not comfortable for them, okay, if they're not ready. And there's nothing wrong with that. So we're going to walk you through everything, but I want to make sure, just because I hear people saying this was a little too direct, a little frightening. That's not what it's meant to be. Okay, we want to make sure you understand clearly before you make that decision. Okay, so physical science, which is our normal 8th grade science curriculum, is composed of a half a year of physics and a half a year of chemistry. It is, without a shadow of a doubt, our most challenging course. It is challenging because the concepts being explored in the science class are very abstract, and there's a tremendous amount of mathematics associated with physical science. Okay, which explains why kids that are currently going to be in algebra or going to be in geometry in 8th grade, okay, they have good math skills, and they also have demonstrated the ability to understand and be able to manipulate abstract concepts at this particular point in time. So that's why we only offer it to this particular group. Okay, so kids algebra 1 that are coming in 8th grade and geometry in 8th grade are the only ones afforded this opportunity. Okay. Mr. Parsi, if you wouldn't mind pulling up this letter.
Absolutely.
Okay? So, parents received the letter. Once again, the letter is not meant to be mean. It just has to be direct. So when we're communicating with families, we have to make sure that I'm being clear with you so that you understand exactly what's happening. And so if you take it the wrong way, hey, I apologize for that up front. But what I'm trying to do right now is just point out the facts and explain things to you. All right. One of the things that I would like for you to understand for me is we really have 3 criteria, if you will, for students to take Challenge Science. Okay. The first one is they have to have good math skills. And your children already do because of the fact that they're already being, year 1 or year 2 in our accelerated math program. So they have accomplished that one. Okay. The second one is really important. Okay. The second one is listed right there. They have to love science. Like science has to be something that they enjoy being a part of. Okay, they enjoy studying, they enjoy learning something more about. And then the third thing is that, what we want them to do is they have to be willing to demonstrate certain intangible skills. Okay, and when we start talking about intangible skills, one of the things that we want to make sure that you understand is this. Do they demonstrate good attendance? Are they absent a lot? Do they get sick a lot? Okay, they need to be in school. Okay, they need to be here in that class. You miss a class period of challenge science, you will be behind. Okay, so.
And taking a vacation is not a really good idea during the school year for this course. Yeah.
Okay. They also have to demonstrate good reading comprehension skills. Okay. Yeah. You may say, well, why is that important in science? Well, there's awful lot of reading that Mr. Parsi will require of kids to do. Okay. So reading comprehension, strong reading comprehension skills are important. Time management is a huge issue in this particular class. They got to handle, like when kids go from 7th to 8th grade, the academic expectations for all 5 of their majors is significant. If your child's taking Algebra 1 or Geometry, that's a high school class. It's treated as a high school class. If they're taking a world language, which I almost guarantee you they are, they're going to be taking either French 1 or Spanish 1. That's 2 high school classes, okay? And now you want to throw on this one on top of it, which is going to require time. It is going to be difficult, okay? And then you look at English and social studies. English is a challenging class. A lot of writing is rewriting, and they do a lot of work in there to prepare kids to be successful as writers in high school. And then finally, I'll tell you this, our top students kind of struggle with our social studies classes right now.
Yes, they do.
And the reason that they struggle with U.S. history is they've never really had to study before for social studies, right? That was not something that they had to do. But when you're in U.S. History 1 with us, what ends up happening is, you got to know who, what, where, when, why, right? And you got to kind of, do some memorization, if you will, and have some understanding and be able to explain why people did what they did and how that impacted. So there is work in U.S. history. So, you got to take a second and look at your kid, and you got to say, how is this course going to impact their ability to perform in their other courses, okay? You also need to make sure you understand kids have extracurricular activities. And they could be doing all kinds of things outside of school. We got kids that, play for our sports teams, the school sport teams, but then they play AAU and travel ball and the whole 9 yards. And, you get home at 9 o'clock at night, you're going to have homework. And if it's not done the next day, then there's going to be a problem. And you'll talk about that a little bit later on. The other intangible that we want people to be cognizant of is, there's going to be some pressure, right? They will feel pressure, okay? They'll feel pressure because the kids in the class are high achievers. They're all, most of them that are going to be in there are going to really be pushing to do a good job. They're going to feel that pressure. They're going to feel pressure of the course itself. And how does your kid handle anxiety? Okay, how do they do that? If they're anxious and they tend to pull away and not go and engage the teacher or the subject material, that's going to be an issue for that particular student. The other thing that I want to make sure that this intangible to me is really important is the student and the parents need not to be concerned about the grade. I will tell you, okay, through my experience as monitoring the grades in challenge science, a lot of kids will get a B in that first marking period. That happens, okay, and I'm telling you right now it happens because it's an adjustment that first marking period. And so if you as a parent or student say, well, I want to make sure that my kid gets distinguished honors, okay, that's the course that's going to knock kids out of distinguished honors. We offer National Junior Honor Society in 8th grade. There is an academic component of that. This will be the class that will knock you out of National Junior Honor Society. Okay, and I'm just telling you that, once again, not to frighten you, I'm just telling you what's happening. Many of the kids that go into this class, you need to understand that, and you can't be worried about that, right? Because if you get a B, so what? If you love science and you're willing to work hard and challenge yourself with that, then, and that doesn't matter to you, you're gonna have a great experience. You will have a great experience. But if you're motivated by those other things and that pressure builds that I need to get distinguished honors, I need to do this, and I need to get an A, I mean, you need to understand there's a good possibility that you're going to get B's. And that's just the reality.
Can I interject a couple things based off what I've seen too, off what you said? First thing with the parents, I got to be honest. There are a lot of parents in here that want their kids to have a career in science and want their kid to love science. And just because the parents love science, they think their kid will love it. This decision has to come from the child. Challenge Science is a great class, but sometimes it's okay to wait. There's ample science courses, there's STEM in the high school. They can do all of those opportunities in the high school if they don't take Challenge Science.
Yeah.
So just because you don't take Challenge Science doesn't mean your child won't go to Johns Hopkins and become this famous engineer. No, it's for 1 year. So again, and here's the thing, they might not be emotionally ready for it yet. They can start that in 9th grade. The second thing, again, it's not just, will there be demonstrations and labs? Yes, but 95% of this class is there's pressure to meet deadlines. There's lots of reading, lots of writing, lots of video watching at home. This is hours and hours and hours of work. If you persevere through it and handle it and you enjoy it and you meet the expectation that Dr. SIGG'S said, then it can be a good experience. But it doesn't, it's helpful to have a smart child, but also more importantly, is your child emotionally ready at the age of 13, 14 to handle a course which is extremely rigorous. It's very, it's very rigorous. Are they emotionally ready at this difficult age of 13 and 14? You really got to think like that. There are a lot of ways to catch up and get science opportunities in high school. Just something to think about. All right, keep going.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. So if you could scroll down the letter a little bit. As you scroll down the letter, keep going. Yep, keep going, yep. All right, that's good right there. All right, so some of the things that we want people to consider also when you're doing this, and you can see some of the bullet ones right there. I want to hit a couple highlights that are happening. When you guys are families are sitting down making that decision, right? Like Mr. Parsi said, you really have to take the cue from the child, okay? And the reason I'm saying that to you, and I'm speaking a little bit forcefully about that, is it is hard for me, all right, as a parent, to see kids that are in the class that are struggling, okay? And the reason that they're in their class is because either they wanted to do it because their friends were doing it and their parents knew that probably wasn't a good idea and didn't stop them, okay? Their parents knew that they should not let them do it, but they let them do it anyways because they wanted them to try it, and they're that, okay? And the other thing that happens is sometimes, the parents push the kid to do it, and the kid really doesn't want to do it, okay? And that, we've just seen this over the time that I just feel badly for those kids. Okay, I feel bad because they're struggling. They know they're struggling. They're getting grades that they're not used to getting. They're super nice kids. They're super smart kids. Okay, but it was a decision that was not necessarily our own. And how do I know that? Because we talk to them, right? And we ask them, because we're trying to help them out. And as we start to see the struggle, we talk to them about why did you do this? Well, my dad made me do it, or my mom and dad told me I had to do it. And that hurts a little bit because you don't want to see a 13, 14-year-old struggle. Okay.
And this isn't your normal 8th grade level class. This isn't a little bit harder than 7th grade.
Yeah.
This is rigorous to the nth degree. Okay, this isn't just some little middle school accelerated. No, this is beyond rigorous. This is a huge emotional, challenge. And we just want to make sure that you're making the right decision because we want to see your child do the best, have a really good experience.
So some other key bullets here that I want you to make sure parents are understanding. If you make that decision to put them in the class and all of a sudden now, 3 weeks in or 4 weeks in, whoa, this is a bad decision. I just want you to know that no one's coming out of the class, okay? Because that's not fair to the other kids that are going to stick it out. So that decision is one that you need to think about and make that decision with the thought of, can they do it? And if they can't do it, they're going to be in it for the entire year. So they will not be coming out. Okay. This is just an option for kids to take. It's not we don't have weighted grades in middle school. Okay. So just like we don't have weighted grades for geometry or algebra, right? We're not having a weighted grade for this. So there is no grade point average benefit for what is happening here with challenge science. The other big thing I want to make sure, and you hit on this a little bit, is that when kids are getting ready to schedule for 9th grade, okay, there is no extra special course in 9th grade awaiting them because they were the kids that took challenge science. Okay, like challenge science serves them no additional future purpose in terms of their course selection in 9th grade. Everybody's offered the same thing in 9th grade, biology, earth science. Okay, that's what they're going to be offered. Okay, what challenge science will do for them, okay, if they really love science and they excel in this particular class, I mean, they're going to be able to go into, honors bio next year if that's what they choose to do, and really have a great experience and move forward in their high school career with a focus on taking as many science classes as possible. Okay, but there is nothing in 9th grade that they get that's special that nobody else gets because they took challenge science with us in 8th grade.
So if they opt out and don't take challenge science,
Yep.
then the highest level class in 9th grade is BSCS biology. Your child will be able to take biology in 9th grade, even coming out of the regular class. There is also a STEM Project Lead the Way program.
Mm-hmm.
Your child will be able to start in that program if they take challenge science or if they don't. So that goes back to the same course selection opportunities are available to your child to start fresh in 9th grade, regardless if they take challenge science or not. So just keep that in mind, because it comes back to, is your child at 13 or 14 emotionally ready to handle extremely unheard of high-level material done in a middle school environment in chemistry and physics? Just think about that for a minute, okay? All right, sorry, Dr. Siggins, I had to add that.
And let me just tack on to that a little bit. I mean, when I'm hearing you say that, being emotionally ready and so forth, I'm sure some parents are sitting back going, oh my word, what's going to be happening in there? Well, what's going to be, like once again, I don't want people to be frightened or scared. No. That's not the purpose. Okay. The issue that we're going to run into is that there is a certain pace that's going to be kept. Yeah. There is a certain expectation that students are going to be doing things outside of the classroom in preparation for the next day. Okay. And that is the challenge for kids coming in from 7th grade to 8th grade, right? I want to say there's a lot of hand holding and, that sort of thing, but there is some truth to that. Okay. And when they come over to the 8th grade center and we're trying to get them ready to go to high school, we start kind of having them assume some more responsibility for what they're doing. Okay, and basically what will happen in this particular class is it will take it up a couple of notches. It just will. Okay, so that's why it's real important that the student wants to do it. The student loves science. Okay, they're already a good math student, and the student possesses those intangible skills. They can handle pressure. They have good attendance. They can manage all the different things that are taking place in their lives in and outside of school. Okay, and if they can do that, truly, I mean, I spend quite a bit of time going into challenge science to check in with the kids, right? And we do that every 2-3 weeks to see how it's going. And it is rewarding to see those kids that are able to persevere in the beginning. And then once they've kind of figured out that first marking period, to watch them just blossom, okay? That's cool. By the same token, it's just sad to see the kids that don't do the things they need to do in the beginning, and then just you can see. I mean, you walk in the room, you know who that is, because it's just disappointing. So we want to try to avoid that to the best of our ability. And parents, we need your help on that because we don't really know.
Yes.
What we can do is just tell you the reality of what's going to happen, and hope that you will help them make the right decision. Okay. All right, Mr. Parcia, why don't you talk a little bit about some numbers here, okay, if you will, about how many kids normally are taking it, what we've seen a lot over the years, A's, B's, grade distributions,
Sure.
and the amount of workload.
Sure. So when we started this class about 5 or 6 years ago, it was it's exciting to start it. We had a lot of kids that joined. We had out of an eligible population to take the course, we had about 50 to 60% of the population take it, which were a lot of kids. And we found that many kids couldn't make the cut, and many kids were getting C's, D's, and F's because too many kids were too ambitious and wanted to take the course. And so as we've progressed through the years, in fact, last year, about 25 to 35, around 30% of the eligible population said yes to taking the course. That means 70% said no. And even with that 30%, we still had about 20% of that population, okay, still get C's, D's, and F's. Okay, so getting an A is very hard. So we say more than likely you're going to get a B. So it's a very rigorous class that only a smaller portion of children decide to take. Okay, and as we always say, when you go to high school, there's going to be ample science opportunities, to accommodate, your child's passion for science if they develop that over time. So it is very difficult. It is hard to get an A. You're going to have to work very, very hard to get an A. Again, we always say a lot of kids are really smart. Do you ever have to bug your child to do homework? Does your child get all their homework done and get it done well, not fast and not, are they thorough? Are they self-starters? Do they want to get the work done? Do they love science? Those are the kids that tend to do a lot better. They are independent. They don't really need to rely on their parents as much to help them or to force them to do their homework. So once again, more B's overall, about 20% get about a C, D, or F average for the year, and about 30%, give or take, of the eligible population say yes to this course. That's how difficult it is and how rigorous it is. That's how we progress through the years with the data.
And I would suggest people, parents, that if you're watching a video and are having this opportunity right now for your child, you could talk to, I'm sure there's people that in the community or a neighborhood that they could talk to you about it. And the reality is the numbers that Mr. Parsi is talking about are the numbers, right? We've seen not a decline we've seen a decline, but not a significant decline in the number of kids that started to where we are right now. And as we see that decline, we see the number of kids that are struggling also decline. So we still have some kids that are there. And once again, if the kid's okay getting a C and they're working their tail off and you're okay with that, great, right? And that's kind of how it goes. But we want to just make sure that everybody understands that not everybody's taking the class. People choose not to do that, and that's good. And they'll still get challenged in the traditional physical science class. It's the same curriculum, okay? They cover the same topics. They just don't go into the same level of depth and detail than what happens here, and they don't travel at the same speed. But the curriculum, what is covered is exactly the same. Okay. What else, Mr. Parsi? Talk about the amount of homework, flipped classroom, the type of tests, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So we will, on day one, we will begin to work right away. In fact, you will be sent some work in late July, early August. Once I get the final rosters, kids have to have it complete before the first day of school. It will be checked. We will start instruction on day one. There are over 50 videos on this Ram Country YouTube channel. It's called a flipped classroom, where there will be instruction outside of class. So they're going to have to also get instruction at home, which takes time. And that's part of their homework. That will be in addition to the classroom instruction. So every day in class, there's a lecture or a demonstration. Your child is taking pages and pages of notes. They develop their own resources. And that's their study material. Then at night, there's usually a video where they watch the video, practice the skill, and then practice the homework. So usually we're looking on average, we hear, especially in the first half of the year, 1.5 to 2 hours of homework a night, because kids aren't used to this. So they tend to overcompensate because they're trying to really be thorough. They don't know yet how to be efficient. how to find a routine. So it takes a long time because they're practicing new different skills that work for them in terms of preparing to do really well in a high level class. So it's a huge time commitment. Tests are almost every week.
Can I
Go
interrupt you
ahead.
for a second?
Yep.
So would you also say, though, as the students kind of figure out the appropriate study skills and so forth, right? And that's one of the things we're talking about, transitioning from 7th to 8th and then 8th to 9th, getting them ready for high school. You know, that concept of homework, being focused when you're doing your homework and not having your cell phone with you where you're texting and doing all that, okay, as they get into that and, after the, winter vacation, when they come back, are you seeing kids then spend less time on homework because they have figured out what they need to do?
Well, the time decreases. And a lot of the times because I talk to the kids a lot, we do personal conferences, once or twice a marking period, and we kind of, we go over strengths and weaknesses. One thing we do tell the kids is get rid of the cell phone. That's very hard for those kids to do because a lot of times when they do homework, they're constantly distracted and they're doing other things. And that's why it's taking longer. So as they see that, wow, checking my cell phone every 5 minutes or doing homework with kids at the same time actually takes a lot longer because they get off task. As they mature through the course, the time spent decreases a little bit because they've learned that using that cell phone too much is hurting them more than helping them. And they're becoming more efficient as the year goes on. So they do improve, but again, the kids have to learn the hard way, and it goes back to self-discipline. They need to get that self-discipline to do the work on their own, write down questions they have, and come and see me. If they're constantly Snapchatting, on the phone, working for 5 minutes on the phone, it's taking them 3 to 4 hours. And it's not good for these kids. And some of them learn it the hard way. But over time, most kids do become much more efficient because they're used to the rigor throughout the year.
Okay. All right.
Yep. So that's the time for homework overall.
What kind of tests are we looking at? Tests?
Absolutely. So with tests overall, we'll talk about our regular tests. First off, there's pop quizzes a couple times a marking period. Kids don't know when they're going to come. They count for test points. Tests are 70% of the grade. Then we have our exams. Sometimes they take 2 days because there's so much material. Sometimes for a chapter, it'll be a part 1 and a part 2 exam. And the tests have multiple guess questions where some of the multiple choice questions are not one obvious answer. There's select all that apply. And theirs tend to be the hardest. And the kids who take the best notes and study the most focused and most efficient do the best. There's also multiple essay questions where it's not just regurgitated out of the notes, where I'll find some sort of real world application and then they get the scenario and they have to justify based off what they learned, how this works, why this worked. Here's what we learned in class. Here's the math and here's the scientific phenomena to justify it. So it's not all regurgitated material. The kids, they know what's covered. They know the material that's eligible to be covered. They have no idea what I'm going to ask. And then sometimes the thing I always get during a test, are like, oh, we didn't learn this, we didn't learn this. And then when we go over the exam, they're like, oh my gosh, now I understand. Like, it takes a lot of focus and it's very difficult. Then in December, we do something called Winter Wonderland Week, where we do 4 exams in 4 days that cover everything from September to December. It's kind of like practicing for a midterm. So your child will be taught how to prepare for midterm exams while learning new material. And those 4 tests just go into the marking period grade. There isn't a separate grade for that. But again, we're trying to teach the kids, study the old while learning the new. And then we do the same thing in the spring for physics. January to March, 4 days of 4 exams. Spring celebration week, okay? Hard, they're not easier. They're still the select all that apply. High level calculations where you may have to do 6 or 7 steps. And one of these videos on the letter, you'll see that, to be able to figure out the calculation. A lot of times kids, if they get one part of the calculation wrong, the whole thing is wrong. So it's very, very daunting and challenging. But if your child can persevere and follow all the requirements we've set forth, they're going to thrive on it. But that's up to them. I mean, it's up to them. There will also be all or nothing quizzes where if the child in February gets one wrong, they get a 0. And that's for something called polyatomic ions. But to compensate for that, in that marking period, we have about 800 test points. So 1, 0, or 2 maybe won't impact them much, but it really forces them to study the material and know it well, because it's going to be something they need to do for chemistry. So there is a lot of pressure. But the end result of kids who belong in the class, who are coachable, who improve, who have self-discipline, who don't use the cell phone all the time, they tend to really thrive and become more and more efficient and comfortable with the requirements as the year goes on. So we will test rigorously from day one all the way close to the day before we go on our field trip. So it's constant work because we have a lot of material to cover and we want to make sure your child learns a lot. So it's a very rigorous, taxing, demanding class, but it can be rewarding for those who persevere or coachable.
And one of the things that we've learned when we talk to the kids, you know, many of these kids are taking geometry and they're taking this class and they're taking Spanish 1 and, you know, they're doing well in their English and history class is, you know, it is an adjustment in the beginning.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you it is a hard adjustment in the beginning. But once again, once they figure that out and once they kind of get into the groove, then they indicate that, you know what, it's pretty manageable. But they have to be, like you said, self-disciplined, you know, when they're, and that forces them to deal with time management. And one of the purposes of the class is to kind of, you know, these are our best students, right? You know, and they're going to be afforded opportunities to take honors courses or AP courses when they go to 9th grade, right? So that's one of the reasons why we kind of expose them to this type of rigor right now and expose them to the type of testing and, if you will, pressure, so that they'll have that opportunity to be really, really prepared when they go to 9th grade, because they're going to take all those high flying courses. There's no doubt about it. We want to make sure that they're ready for that. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So I feel good about your explanation of the course. Is there anything else you want to add, or are you ready for me to kind of close it out here?
Just a couple. I'll be real brief. Just a couple observations. Again, every child's experience is different. Okay, you know, even within a family, sometimes, you know, I've seen the same families come through the course multiple times, 2 or 3 times, and I do enjoy working with the same families. I mean, it's been great working with you guys, but I just want you to think, kids within a family are different. Just because an older sibling did well with the class doesn't mean your upcoming child could do well. Or just because a previous sibling did horrible in the class doesn't mean this current child couldn't handle it. Kids are different. Please make your decision based on your individual child. I mean, if you're the next door neighbor did great, does that mean your child will do great? We don't know. It comes down to, do you think your child is emotionally ready to be able to put that cell phone away, be able to handle, maybe everybody fails a test. Can they handle failing a test and then recovering and always assessing their strengths and weaknesses, and can they commit to improvement and just kind of keep working and keep adapting? It's a life experience, and that's why we really are passionate. We want to make sure that you guys are making the right decision. That's why we're trying to be as open and as honest as we can, because we want to see kids have a great experience in the 8th grade center, and that's why we're laying it all on the line right here, Dr. SIGG'S, because we want to see kids have a great.
Yeah, the other thing I think that we need to, you know, just for out there for people to understand before we close this up is that, you know, right now, I am so hopeful that we'll be back in the building next year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that has been terrible. This has been terrible, right?
Yeah.
It's been hard for all the students, but it's especially hard for, you know, kids in your class. And you do a tremendous job of providing daily videos for them and all the different activities that you have for them. But you know, if we're going to, you know, continue to be rigorous, if we're not in the building with this class, that's something else that we need to consider. And we don't know what that's going to look like until, you know, kind of iron themselves out. So the unknown is another avenue right now. And you can assess how your kid's doing with online, you know, the virtual learning right now at the conclusion of 7th grade, how they would probably fare moving forward. If that would have to happen next year in 8th grade, in addition to taking this particular type of course. Now, you obviously will not be having the super high expectations if we're online next year. It's still going to be high.
Yeah.
We got to have to adapt that, obviously, and we'll do that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's just that there's so much uncertainty going in the next year. That's another thing. Please take into consideration, parents. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen next year, and that's why we really want to caution you. Is this something you want to undertake with so much uncertainty next year? Again, we don't know yet. I mean, we'll do our best to adapt and make this work, but we're still not sure yet. There's so many unknowns with this, and that's the unfortunate part that we have to address right now. It's just we've never had to address this before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically what we want to have happen is this. Okay. So everybody got an email. Okay. That's okay. And on the email was an address for a Google form. And also you got an attachment, which was this letter. So Mr. Parsi, if you could scroll up a little bit. Okay. So in this letter, nope, other way, please.
Sure.
As you read this letter, there are going to be some links. Okay. And so what we're going to ask you to do is you're obviously watching the course information link. The reason that's not live right now is we're filming it at this particular point in time, and that will be live when you get it. The second video is just the next two are just examples of what he does in his classroom. That's that flipped classroom that he does when kids are going to have to go home, watch it at home, be ready to do some homework, little questions, and then be ready to come in the next day and talk about it. So that's just an opportunity for you guys to sit and see and watch exactly what kids are going to be expected to do. Okay. And so we're going to ask that you watch all three of these. That'll be part of the Google form that you'll have to respond to saying, yes, I watched them and so forth, because we want to make sure everybody's making the best decision. Once you see all this stuff, you listen to the videos, you read the letter, you say, okay, you need to have a conversation with your family. And I would just encourage parents, like I'm a parent, you're a parent, right? You got to listen to your kids. Okay. And as a parent, sometimes I gotta help my kids from putting themselves in a bad situation and telling them no. I mean, that unfortunately is the reality. I have to do that. And my wife does it as well. So, you got to sit down and everybody's got to be honest and just talk about it. And if they really don't want to do it, then don't make them do it. If they really want to do it and you're sitting there saying, yeah, I know you, I've never seen you do your homework, you're not a self-starter, you always put things off to the last minute, I would, that's when you got to step in. You got to step in and say, I don't think you're ready for that right now.
And again, you can say to them, prove to me this year in 8th grade in the regular science class, everything else, if you do well, you can have these honors courses next year. It doesn't mean you're locked out of anything next year. That's the thing that you have to remember with this. And I really want to make that a key point. You can get into the STEM class. You can get into the biology class. You're not locked out of anything. Yeah. So it's, and you have to be honest. I know people are going to be ambitious right now, when they hear on Facebook, oh, I'm taking it. You have to block it out and focus on your child. And you have to be honest with yourself, mom and dad. Okay, your child will get a great education regardless. And again, the opportunities at the high school will still be there in 9th grade regardless. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So I'm feeling good. Like I said, we tried to just be honest with everybody. I know that sometimes right now, some people probably will go on Facebook and say, oh, this is highly negative or whatever. It's not negative. What we want to do is we want to just present the facts, okay? Yeah. And we want to make sure that kids that are taking the class are taking the class, and we don't want to see kids struggle. That's all. No. That's it. That's what it boils down to. All right?
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dr. SIGG'S, and thank you, parents, for watching this. Again, we want what's best for your child, and that's why we have to be honest and forthright about this. And please contact your child's guidance counselors if there are any questions, and please, read the letter carefully. Watch all the videos carefully and make sure you follow the deadline of when the decision has to be sent in so we can get next year's schedule ready to go. So with that being said, thank you, Dr. SIGG'S. It's good to see you again. And parents, best of luck. We look forward to seeing you guys next year. And that'll be it on the for SIGG'S On, special edition for Challenge Science on the 8th Grade Center On Demand Network, where it's all academic all the time. We look forward to seeing you guys. Have a great day.